Hello friends and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen Christmas Candy Collection video. In this video we're going to have 6 different kinds of candy you can make for the holidays, including turtle candy all the way to chocolate covered truffles, you name it, some fudge, and I hope there's something in here that everyone will like. Merry Christmas everyone. This is a great option for a party or holidays to have chocolate peanut butter truffles. They're very easy to make. You're going to start with 1 pound of powdered sugar. Take a stick of butter and break it up into smaller pieces. Then you're going to add 12 ounces of creamy peanut butter. There's an optional 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract if you want to use it. It does make them a little sweeter on the peanut butter side. It's your choice if you want to use it or not. Personally, I just like the peanut butter taste, so I leave it out. So now for the messy part. Once you have everything in your bowl, you're going to have to probably mix this by hand because spoons don't really do a good job with this. Take a little bit of the powdered sugar, sprinkle it over the peanut butter, and start to combine all your ingredients together. You're going to work this until it's completely mixed through, and then you will have a big ball of the mixture, and you're going to roll it into smaller balls, choosing by your size on how large you want your truffles to come out in the end. As you roll these out, you're probably going to get 20 or more truffles. But basically at this point you are making little balls of peanut butter. So once you get all the balls rolled out, you're going to take a bowl with some powdered sugar in it, and you're going to roll them back and forth until you get them completely coated. After you've done all your peanut butter balls, you're going to have to refrigerate. You can do this for a few hours. I would suggest overnight, so that way they have a time to firm up before you try to dip them in chocolate. So now that you're ready to mix up your chocolate, you're going to take 3/4 cup of Belgium chocolate. You can buy this at places like Aldi or other stores where they're little cubes of chocolate. Then into that you're going to add 1 cup of almond bark block chocolate. These are those really huge blocks that you buy at Walmart or other stores, but you're going to have to break them up into littler bits. So basically, take a knife, rock it back and forth until you break these, but please be careful and don't cut yourself. The smaller the pieces you put in to go into the microwave in this chocolate, the better, because it takes longer to melt the larger blocks, and the little blocks will melt really fast. So try to keep everything kinda in a similar size. When I put mine in the microwave, I go for 30 seconds at a time until everything is melted through and you get it really smooth and there's no lumps. To this, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. That's going to give it a bit of shine on the outside and temper your chocolate to where it looks nicer instead of the dull look you get without it. You do not need to microwave once you put the coconut oil in. Just stir it into the hot mix of chocolate and it will actually break down as you're stirring. Once you get your chocolate really mixed through with the coconut oil, you're going to need something like a toothpick or whatever to hold on to the peanut butter balls before you go to put them in the chocolate. That way you can dip them in but still pull them back out without leaving a lot of marks like from a fork or something like that. Just keep rotating it around. You might need a spoon to dip the chocolate around the actual toothpick area to get that on top of it. And when you put them down onto your paper that you put on your counter, there will be a little ridge that comes down from the chocolate that melts and drips to the side. You can break this off once you're done and actually clean them up a bit. Plus you can snack on it while you're doing it. But anyway, once you set these to the side, just let them cool down. They'll be fine. Eventually you will need to refrigerate these because of all the ingredients in it. However, this is what you have: chocolate peanut butter truffles. Alright, to start with, we are going to spray the container we're going to put our fudge into and actually push in some wax paper, so this will make it easier to release the fudge once it's set up in the refrigerator. So spray lightly and then tuck in your wax paper all the way around the edges until it forms the shape of the container you're using. Make sure you leave a little bit of a lip off the side because that's what we're going to use to lift up the fudge once it's done. Now we are going to cut up 3 cups of chocolate, which we are going to put in a bowl to melt. So go ahead, and if you have little morsel pieces, they're fine. You just put them in the bowl to melt them. Otherwise, I had block chocolate, so we're cutting that up into slivers so that way it will melt faster in the microwave. And you're going to add to this a can of sweetened condensed milk. Just pour that over top of all the chocolate that you're using. Now, sometimes it's better if you use a darker chocolate with this, because once you put the milk into it, it is going to lighten it up a bit. And once you get all the sweetened condensed milk out of your can, you are going to be adding at least a tablespoon of vanilla extract to this. And once you get this all done, you're going to put it into the microwave and run it for at least 2 minutes to melt this. It may take 2.5 or so. Just check it every 30 to 40 seconds and stir it up a little bit to make sure that you don't burn your chocolate. And when you get done, it'll look something like this. So once you have it stirred up a little bit, you are going to add about a 1/2 cup of mini marshmallows or less. It depends on how fluffy you want this to be. Or you can do what I did and use a little bit of marshmallow fluff. And once you get it in, you're going to stir it until this breaks up completely. Now, even with the marshmallow fluff, I use the equivalent of about a 1/2 cup. So stir it through, get it mixed all through your chocolate. It's going to take a couple minutes to stir this completely through, because as you stir it, you're going to see that it's breaking up, but it does take time to do this, and it will change the color of your chocolate and make it much lighter. Make sure you scrape the sides when you're doing this. We want to make sure that the marshmallow is completely mixed into the chocolate and that you don't have pieces of it floating through here and there. Now, as you can see, after a couple minutes, it does stir through, and then you're going to take it and pour it into the prepared container we have that's going to end up being refrigerated after this. You need to leave this in the fridge for at least an hour or so once you're done to make sure that it sets up and hardens a bit, because this stuff is going to be really hot when it comes out of the microwave, so you do need to give it time to cool down and refrigerate. So once you get all of it out of your mixing bowl, spread it out kind of smoothly And then you have the option of putting toppings on this. I'm going to use about a half a cup of walnuts. You don't have to use this if you don't like walnuts. You could use other different things. I mean, it depends on what you want to put on it. If you are using nuts like I am, sprinkle them over the top evenly, but once you get them on top, you might want to press them down into it a little bit, so that way they hold their space once they're actually going into the refrigerator. And when you're done, lift from the sides, and you can pull the wax paper straight out of this, as I'm doing right here. And then you're going to peel back the edges, and it's a little effort. You can get them back without tearing them, and it should pull right down. And once you get them down like that, all you need is a large knife to cut across, and you have pieces of fudge. And this is what it looks like when you're done. And these are really a great treat for the holidays or any day, or even if you're having a party. So the other day I wanted to come up with something kind of chocolatey to make, and I wanted a good truffle. So I played around with this until I got the recipe you're about to see, and it turned out really great. So in our large bowl we have 1.5 packages of cream cheese, and in the mixing cup I have a cup of chocolate, which I'm going to melt in the microwave. And when you melt chocolate in the microwave, just do it 30-second bursts until you get it melted down and can stir it up. Then in the original large bowl, we are adding 1/4 cup of Hershey's syrup. Now the cream cheese that's in that bowl is at room temperature. We want to bring that up to temperature before we try mixing it, so that way it's smoother. And once you get all of the Hershey syrup into your bowl, we're going to add that melted chocolate that we had in our mixing bowl. And go ahead and scrape all of that out. And once we get this all in, we're going to give it a little bit of a mix to try and mix up these ingredients first. Now the good thing about the chocolate that you melted in the microwave, it's going to help the cream cheese become even softer and help you to mix in all the ingredients that are in the bowl already. Now this is going to take a little effort to make the cream cheese mix into it completely. Then we're going to add 1/4 cup of cocoa, and then we're going to add 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. And then we're going to mix again to try to incorporate all of this in. Now this is going to become very dry looking for a minute, but as you continue to mix it, it's going to actually mix together and make the inside of what's going to be our truffle. And you think at first it's like, this is too dry, this isn't going to work. The more you work it, the more it'll incorporate together, and it'll become smoother and like a lot of chocolate all in one place. So keep working it, and you will start to see in the center of your bowl that it's starting to mix together, like as you can see with mine. And as you pull it in, it will become something like this. And once we get this completely mixed together, we're going to put this in the fridge for at least an hour or so to thicken it up, to make it harder to work with by hand. Now we're going to start off with another bit of chocolate that we're going to use for the outside of this. So we're going to use at least 2 cups of almond bark chocolate. And if you want this to be shiny on the outside, you could add a little bit of coconut oil or regular oil to it, like vegetable oil. And then you're going to melt that in 30-second bursts like we did with the first. And then we're going to bring back the inside of our truffles from the refrigerator and scoop it up and roll them out into balls. One thing I learned about this after I had already started rolling these, if you put a little oil on your hands, they won't stick to you as much. Mine were sticking a little bit in the beginning, and then I figured out, hey, I just took some cooking spray, sprayed my hands, and I had no trouble. And you're going to roll out all of these until you get all your balls rolled out from the stuff that you had already had in the refrigerator. And then we're going to dip them in the melted chocolate that we ran through the microwave just now from the almond bark. And once you get them completely coated, you're going to bring them out onto some parchment paper and let them sit till they harden up. Now, one thing about these, once they're done, you're going to need to refrigerate them. You don't want these just sitting on the counter because they do have cream cheese in them. But these will last in the refrigerator for a few days, which is really great. And, well, in my house, they didn't last a few days because they were heating up that quickly. So go ahead and work your way through all of the different pieces that you rolled out and get them all coated with your chocolate and just let them sit, and you are pretty much done with this. And this is what mine looked like when it was done. And these have the best taste because it's so chocolatey, but the inside is really smooth and tasty and wonderful, and you're going to love it. So what we're going to start with is a pan that you can put about 2 cups of pecans on, because we are going to need to put these into an oven, which you need to preheat to 350 degrees. So get your pecans onto the pan. I lined mine with some parchment paper just for the fact that I wanted it to be easy to pick up and move afterwards. You don't have to do that, it's your choice. And we put them in the oven for at least 8 to 10 minutes, and when they come back, they're going to look a little bit like this. This is where my paper comes in handy because I can lift them off with the paper. And I'm going to move them to a cutting board, which I'm going to chop them up a little bit finer than they are here because I want them to be usable when I mix up the inside of the turtle. So I took a big knife and just went across them multiple times in different directions and chopped them up to where they were a little bit more usable. Once you get them chopped up, you're going to sit them to the side until after we mix up the actual inside caramel that goes into the turtle. So just chop them, get them done, and then set them aside, and we're going to move on to the next part. So we are going to take at least 6 tablespoons of butter, put it in the microwave, and melt it in bursts until it's liquidy. If you put this straight in sometimes and you leave it for the whole time, it will literally pop and go all over the inside of your microwave. You don't want that. So in a large bowl, we're going to dump that melted butter in, and then we're going to add some ingredients to this. We're going to start out with some light brown sugar, which is a 1/2 cup. Then we're going to add regular sugar, a 1/2 cup. And we are adding in some corn syrup, which is the light colored kind. And you are going to put a 1/2 cup of that in. Make sure you scoop out what's in your cup because it will not come out easily. And lastly, we are going to add in a 1/2 cup of condensed milk. And again, you're going to have to scrape your bowl or whatever you have it in because it will not come out easily because this stuff is really sticky. And it's going to stay in there till you scoop it out. And once we get this all into our bowl, we're going to mix it up with our spatula until everything is incorporated. Now once you get it all together, you're going to put it into the microwave for about 6 minutes and then bring it back. So this is where we're going to put in 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and you're going to want to mix this in completely into what you already had come out of the microwave. So go ahead and mix it up until it all stirs in. And then after this, we are going to add the pecans into this mix and then stir them up. So I just added them in handful. It doesn't really matter. It's just easier to keep control of it that way. But when they're in, you're going to mix them with your spatula and get them completely coated with the caramel. Now there's one thing I learned about making this caramel. As it comes out of the microwave, it is extremely hot. And you got to make sure that your microwave is hot enough to get it to the temperature it needs to be, so that way it thickens up. But when you mix in the pecans, you get ready to put these onto your pan that you're going to put in your refrigerator to cool. It's one of these things where you need to let it cool a little first before you even put it on that, or else they'll just spread way too much. So I already put mine onto the pan and put them into the refrigerator for at least a half an hour to cool down and be right before you can dip them in chocolate. So in my bowl, I have about 2 cups of chopped up chocolate. You may need more if you're making more of these. I don't know. This actually worked for what I was doing. I have plenty of chocolate. So you're going to put this into the microwave for at least a couple minutes. And I would do it at like 30-second stir, 30-second stir, so that way you don't scald your chocolate or anything. And then when you get it completely out, you just want to stir it up a bit to make sure it's fine. And then bring your turtle insides over on a fork and scoop this on top. And then put them on like wax paper so that they can sit and cool, and that way they'll solidify. Because you probably should put these in the refrigerator again once you got your chocolate on for about, I don't know, a half an hour or something like that. And then they're ready to eat. So just keep repeating the process of bringing over the inside that you made, which is refrigerated already, on a fork or whatever, and then put the chocolate on top one at a time, and then sit them onto your wax paper to solidify, cool, and get ready for the fridge. And this is really all there is to making these. The best thing about this is once I started eating them, they're really addictive, they have a great taste, and they're not really that hard to make at home. And this is what it looks like when it's done. So what you see on my counter is what we're going to use to make these, and there's such a great taste to these truffles because they kind of remind me of like if you were eating pumpkin pie with chocolate. It's one of those tastes that it's really wicked when you actually taste it and know what that taste is like. I'm using white chocolate, dark chocolate on this. You can use just either one or the other or both. I have shortbread cookies that have nuts in them as my cookie base in this. You could use a different kind of cookie if you wanted to. That's really your choice. And once you pair this all up with the pumpkin and the spices, the cream cheese, and some powdered sugar, you got like such a great taste. So it's one of those things that's really great for fall. It's great for a holiday if you want to do this for Thanksgiving, or you just want to like have these for around the house. They are really great to eat, and they're just that good. So we're going to get started making these. You're going to have to crunch up your cookies first, and when you do, you're going to have 1 3/4 cups of crunched up cookies. They don't have to be completely pulverized, and you can run these through a food processor, or you can pound them with a mallet, do whatever. You're just really trying to break them up. To this, we are adding 1/3 cup of pumpkin puree. Want to get all of that in there. And then on top of this, we are adding 3 ounces of cream cheese. You want this at room temperature, so that way it's a little bit more spreadable and smooth. And then we're going to start putting in spices. So I'm just going to do these in no particular order. 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/8 teaspoon of ground cloves, and 1/8 teaspoon of ground allspice. And we're gonna get this all in here and get this going. And once you have in like your 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar and all this, we're just gonna mix this all together. And I like to do this by hand because it just works a lot better for me to do it by hand and push through all of this. And it's just one of those things that, I don't know, I like doing it this way. You probably could use something else to mix it together, but I like to know that as I am pushing this all together, I am getting everything combined and worked. And it's sometimes better that I think if you're doing it with a spoon, you can actually see how much you've got combined and you're not overworking something or underworking it. It's just me, maybe. I don't know. You can do it however you want to. The main goal here is to get this completely combined together and make sure that all of the cookie and all of the cream cheese and everything like that is really pushed into the mix. Because we don't want any area where there's streaks of white from the cream cheese or, you know, a bunch of cookie that didn't get mixed in. Because what we're going to do eventually is we're going to roll these into balls with a cookie scoop and put them on a tray to go into the freezer, because they're going to need to be in the freezer for at least an hour to set up before you do anything with the chocolate. So get them completely mixed through. And what I did was I just took like a baking pan and I lined it with some wax paper and just scooped these onto it. One thing you need to remember when you are scooping these out, if your balls are not perfect when you scoop them onto the tray to go to the freezer, it's okay, because when they come out of the freezer, you can kind of roll them a little bit and shape them before you actually start adding the chocolate to them. So keep mixing this up until you get it to the right consistency. And As you can tell with mine, it's really starting to blend together really well. And now if there are little bits of cookie in here that didn't actually crunch down completely, that's okay. Because as they sit, it's going to mix together. And there is nuts in this too for mine, because my cookies had nuts in them. So once you get them into your cookie scoop, just go through and just one at a time, lay them onto the pan. Make sure that, you know, you get them on there really well. With mine, I try to keep them not overly large. I scooped them to where my cookie scoop was like kind of almost level with itself, but I didn't try to put a whole lot of extra in it, because we don't want these being so jumbo you can't fit it in your mouth. Because remember, when you dip them in the chocolate, they're going to become a little bit larger as it is with that. So, you know, I have like an averagely kind of small cookie scoop here, and I'm just going ahead and doing this. Work this until you get them all scooped in on your pan, and like I said, into the freezer for at least an hour. So that way, you know, you're going to need something like a toothpick or a skewer or something to put into these when you're working and to put them in the chocolate. So you kind of want them to be really hardened before you start working with them, so that way it does stick to your skewer. So these are mine when they came back from the freezer, and I already did a little rolling on them to make sure they were a little bit more even. And my chocolate is set to the side. The chocolate, we are going to take this coconut oil, split it between my two things, or one if you're doing one large thing of it, which basically you're using about 16 ounces of chocolate, so I've got like 8 and 8. And then there's like a little over a tablespoon of coconut oil, which I'm dividing between them. And I'm going to put my chocolate in the microwave and put it in at bursts of like 20 seconds until it starts to melt, and I stir it up. You don't want to overcook this, so you want to do it like until it's actually runny and ready to be used. Then take your skewer, put it inside of your ball, pull it out, and then just dip it in the chocolate, and then tap it a little bit, let it run off before you sit it on your pan. Now, when you go to sit this down, if a little bit of it goes onto the pan and like on your wax paper, it's okay, because later on you can pull this off. And if you have trouble getting these stick out sometimes, it's okay. You can use a finger, you can use a spoon, and then take a little bit of the chocolate on your spoon and just dab it over where the hole was that the skewer or toothpick or whatever was in. And you're going to do this for each one. And then once it's still wet from your chocolate, not dried yet, just take a little bit of the cookie crumble if you have some left and just sprinkle it over top of it. Or you could use like, you know, any kind of candy or something you want to drip on top, because you have like sprinkles and things like that. And then just do this with each one of these, and you know, alternate. If you're using the white chocolate and dark chocolate, you can do one or the other, or you can do both, and just, you know, work your way through them, because you're going to end up with about, I'd say 15-16 truffles out of this. So you're going to have plenty of them if you wanted to do part of them white chocolate, part of them dark chocolate, like a regular chocolate. And then just work your way through until you've done them all. And this isn't going to take a couple minutes to do, but the best thing is once you get it on the skewer and get it down into the chocolate, take your spoon, go around the top of it, make sure the top is completely coated, and then you're just ready to drop off the extra chocolate and put this onto your tray, and then just sprinkle the top, and you're ready to roll. Then these things will start to set up. You might want to set them in your refrigerator. Being there's pumpkin inside, I'd say refrigerate these anyway, just to make sure that they stay reasonable until you can eat them all so they don't go bad. But this is basically what you're doing here. And this is really not hard to do, but it has such a great taste when you're done. And then you have something really special to share with friends or family or whoever you want to share with. Now, see, I've switched over to my regular chocolate here, and it's just the same process. You just keep going with this until you've got them all done. And the best thing about this is if you do the chocolate and you let it sit up for a second, you know, it's good. It's going to last for quite a while till you get these completely done. And as I said, if you have a little bit of extra chocolate on your wax paper when you're done, once you pop these off, you literally can snap off the extra pieces, and, well, you know, you can snack on that chocolate you snapped off as well. Just saying. And you know, these have a great look to them when they're done, because, you know, if you take a little crumble cookie and put on top of it as it's drying, it just has a really neat look. And that's the best thing about it, is it looks like you put some effort into this, which you probably would if you're going to do this. It's not going to be the fastest thing in the world to get done, because it is going to take an hour and something if you count in the freezing time. But people will enjoy these, and that's the best part about it, is sharing something with other people. Just make sure as you go along that you do fill all the tops before you put the sprinkles on top of it. I didn't personally try the sprinkles that you would buy, like the candy kind. I was really happy with the idea of the cookie, but however you want to do this. And the best thing is you can change the outer color of the sprinkles for whatever your holiday or event is to match up, like Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever, if you want to do these. I think the worst part about this is waiting for them to be done so you can try them. So, but once they're done, they are so worth it. And this is what mine looked like when they were completely finished. And these have such a great taste, and they're just perfect for the holidays. This is a great form of candy or treat if you want to have for a party, the holidays, or whatever. And it's really simply made. You need 1 pound of powdered sugar, 1 stick of butter. Break your butter up by squeezing it with your fingers. You're going to need to actually break it down in size. Then you're going to need to add 12 ounces of creamy peanut butter. If you want to, as an option, you can add a tablespoon of vanilla extract. You don't have to, but it will give it a little bit of a different taste. It just helps sometimes. It depends on how much you like the taste of the peanut butter. So once you get everything in the bowl, here comes the nasty part. You can't really mix this with a spoon. You're going to have to do it by hand. So I suggest taking some of the powdered sugar, getting it over top of the peanut butter before you start mixing. So that way it doesn't really stick to your hand as bad, but it will stick to your hand. Once you get it all mixed together, and I do mean mix it thoroughly, you want all the powdered sugar to be mixed up into the peanut butter. You want to take it and shape it into balls. You're going to do this as large a ball as you want. They don't have to be huge, they don't have to be small, but try to make them all consistent if you're serving them at the same time to a group of people. So what you need to do is put some wax paper on your counter beside your bowl and just start rolling the balls out. In a bunch of this mixed up, you're going to get a lot of peanut butter balls. Usually I would say you're going to get over 20. This used to be one of those recipes that my mother made every year during the holidays, and everybody loved these because they're great finger food. You just grab and eat on them, whatever you want. Once you're done getting them put into balls, you're going to want to roll them in powdered sugar. Make sure they're very well coated because it does absorb a bit because of the grease from the peanut butter. The oil within it will actually eat up a little bit of the powdered sugar. And once you get them completely rolled out, you're going to need to refrigerate these. They do best probably if you leave them overnight in the refrigerator, but if you had about 3 hours to have them in the fridge, that's probably a good time before if you wanted to do a quick serve of these. So here you have it, peanut butter balls. It's great if you have a fixation for peanut butter or just if you want to have a thing for a party. It's really great to have. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out my cookbooks, which are available in bookstores worldwide. The first is about everyday cooking. The second is all about baking. Merry Christmas, everyone.